All right. Well, welcome everyone. We are so excited that you all are here. Welcome to today's event, Guitars for Growth, Exploring the Healing Powers of Music, presented by Guitars for Vets and Challenge America. My name is Hannah Hall, and I am the program coordinator for Challenge America and for Challenge America Veteran Arts Community, or CAVARTS. CAVARTS is an online community was created exclusively for veterans, where they have the opportunity to connect, grow, and learn through the arts. So, from photography to songwriting to journaling, there truly is a space for everyone in Cav Arts. We really try to make it a safe space, a welcoming space. And as part of that space, we have the Guitars for Vets group. We are so grateful for our partnership with Guitars for Vets and the ability to provide such a beautiful virtual space where veterans can explore the healing power of music through playing the guitar. Through guitar lessons, live events, and interactive videos, the Guitars for Vets space within Cav Arts has something for every guitar player. As a guitar player myself, I have been in the space and found things that I absolutely love and I like to play along with. So I know that there really is something there for every guitar player. So we all have experienced the healing power of music, whether it's in the car or at a live concert, and how that can make us feel. But I'm especially excited for you all to learn some more about the science behind the power of music and for you to get some really great take-home exercises that you can use tonight with your guitar or with listening to music. It's going to be really great. So I want to thank Paul for putting together this event and for all of your hard work. And I also want to thank all of the incredible speakers that are here today. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and just your passion for music and for guitar. Lastly, all of you veterans that are here, thank you for showing up. Thank you for being willing, and thank you for your service. And with that, I'm going to pass it to Guitars for Vets.
Great. Thanks so much, Hannah. And we really are proud of this offering and the great many people that have come together to make this possible. Challenge America is such a great partner in helping to support meaningful messaging that we connect with a broader group of folks outside of our individual chapters and offerings like this, where folks can get back to the presentations later even if they don't get to join synchronously, they get to enjoy the benefits outside of maybe asking questions. I've been really honored to be connected with everyone on this call in some form or fashion over the course of this year. And previously, um, having the opportunity to speak a little bit myself on behalf of Guitars for Vets, but also as one of the veterans that our organization serves. And I know I had a lot of fun learning a couple of really neat, small techniques that Tatiana shared during the last Guitars for Growth that we all did together. And I know that the programming today is going to be even more exciting with those unique things that each of us can do in a therapeutic way with our guitars. I'm gonna go off mute when we get to that point because I'll probably be fumbling around a little bit with my guitar. But my guitar and I are gonna get close today during this presentation. So I hope that all of you that are here have the opportunity to do the same, and really grateful with the generosity of everyone's time in being a part of this. So if you have topics that you'd like to hear more about that come from this, I think, and I might be wrong, but I think that's how we arrived at the core content today was that desire by our audience and the veterans we serve for some expanded information on those techniques we can all use at home. So with that, I'll stop talking. Just really thrilled to be a part of this today. Over to you, Paul.
Thanks. Appreciate you. Let me spotlight here. So my name is Paul Lilley. I'm the Director of Online Learning for the Cyber Chapter. And I'm really excited to welcome you to the second live event in a series that we've been calling Guitars for Growth. This is where we explore the healing power of music. And in the first event, we highlighted the resiliency story of three amazing veterans. We listened to some live music, and we talked about how arts in general and music in particular can positively impact growth. I also want to acknowledge our partnership with Challenge America for providing us a virtual space to host our G4V Learning Center in CavArts. And the time and talents of Hannah, I appreciate you. Megan, who couldn't be with us, most of you have met Megan before. And I always like to say we have a board certified guitar playing music therapist in Tatiana, who you'll hear more from later. I also want to thank Ben Morrow and Marilyn Strada for giving us so freely of their time. They both have full-time jobs, but have been giving back to the Guitars for Vets community for some time now. In fact, Ben is a volunteer instructor that started in early 2022, maybe, and has since graduated 5 veterans from the program. So the Guitars for Vets mission is to put the healing power of music in the hands of heroes. And in today's event, we will explore why we do this. Why so much emphasis on a box of wood with some steel strings? Well, it's because in part we know that music affects us. It impacts us. I read a quote today that said, every religious service, every motivational speaker, every good movie, every good concert uses music to unify, to change mood, and to communicate to the soul. And I just thought that was a really good kind of saying quote for what we're trying to do today. We know anecdotally that learning how to play guitar can decrease anxiety, it can decrease depression, it can increase self-esteem, confidence, and reduce isolation. But how does it do this? Well, music and learning how to play an instrument like the guitar can help you find new ways of expressing yourself, new ways of connecting with others, new ways of creating and finding, hopefully, beauty and joy in your life. So the goal for this live event, we have 2 of them. As we explore the healing power of music, we have 2 goals. One is connection and one is sanctuary. Those are kind of the words we've been using. And the connection is that we hope that you'll come from this with a better understanding simply of how music impacts us. And the sanctuary is you will learn how to think about your relationship with music and the guitar specifically as kind of a self-help tool. It's something in your hands that you can create restful or contemplative or meditative states as we both consume music with our ears or play it with our strings. So the format tonight will be the 3 panelists will kind of introduce themselves quickly, and then we're just going to kind of jump right in. We've left the last 10 minutes or so for Q&A, so please use the chat for comments or questions that you have. But we're going to try and give you a nice mix of both having you consume live music, having you understand live music, and please use the chat. I will put a link into the first Guitars for Growth event if you want to check that one out on your own time. And I guess I'd like to give to Tatiana to start with.
So, my name is Tatiana. I am a board certified music therapist, and I work with Challenge America. So, I was a part of the Guitars for Growth first event, and it was so much fun. And it was really, I think, such a good resource for our veterans that are on this platform to learn how to utilize music in a way that can be helpful for you in the time that you need it. So I have been a board certified music therapist for about 8 years now, and I have worked with a plethora of populations. I've worked with kids. I used to work at Boston Children's Hospital and in many other hospital settings with cancer patients within chemotherapy, ICU patients, etc. And I made my way over to the VA in 2021, and I haven't looked back. Working with veterans is an absolute pleasure, and I'm super excited to offer you some of my expertise today in music therapy and how you can benefit from it.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Guitar for Vets, for having me here today. I am a doctor I have a degree in clinical psychology, but then I spent a few years specializing in something called neuropsychology. What is that, you might ask? Well, the focus in neuropsychology is actually studying the brain, not only brain diseases, but now more in recent years, actually brain health. And so my focus with my patients is most of the time on figuring out when something is a little off in their brains, what is going on, and also trying to make sure that people know how to keep their brains healthy. So you might wonder, okay, so what is a neuropsychologist doing here in this platform? And so for that, I have to tell you a little bit more about myself and confess that I actually live a double life. And so, besides being a doctor during the day, the rest of the time, thanks to my very talented musician husband, who you're going to meet next, and the fact that he gave me a guitar during the pandemic. Since then, I've been learning musical instruments, and so learning how to play the drums and the harmonica, of course, the guitar, and a few other instruments, and being part of his musical performances when I can. And so I will be bringing to you in my part in this conversation today, sharing a little bit of knowledge of both worlds, the scientific part of it, and then, of course, having the experience myself of experiencing the joy of not only listening to music, but also being a musician, a converted musician. So,
Great. All right, Benjamin.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ben Morrow. I'm excited to be here. I am a professional guitar player. I've been a professional guitar player for 30 years. I play in Don Felder's band currently. I also play in Cher's band currently. I played in Lionel Richie's band for 22 years. I played with John Fogerty for about a year. Played with a bunch of other artists. And I'm just really happy to be here, happy to be a part of the Guitar for Vets community, and happy to share why I love the guitar so much. Okay, I'm just going to tell you my story, how I got involved with guitar for the first time. I was 14 years old, and my father brought a guitar home. He was out jogging, and he brought a guitar home that he found in the trash that one of our neighbors had thrown out. It was a little old red electric guitar, and I mean, it was so cool. I just kind of fell in love with it. I got it restrung and got a couple lessons, and gradually I started to get into it more and more. And by the time I was 16, I realized, wow, this is such a special thing. This is really what I want to do with my life. And I took me a long time really to get good enough to really play the songs I wanted to play. But I realized, sitting in my room and practicing for hours, I mean, it was so fun. And it was this world that, the more I practiced, the better I got. And I just fell in love with the instrument, just sitting there, not playing in front of a bunch of people or anything like that, but just sitting there practicing and just, learning a song that I loved and learning how to play it. I just loved it. So that was my start. So, however you can start with a beat up guitar or whatever you can do is great. Again, I'm one of the teachers for Guitar for Vets, which is an amazing program. Let me just say too, to all the veterans out there, thank you very much for your service. And I would recommend you getting into the Guitar for Vets program. It's an amazing program. You get guitar lessons, and at the end of it, you get a nice, awesome, brand new guitar. So what a way to start. So let me just take a minute and say too, I think some people think, oh, I don't really have this natural talent of being a musician or something, so it's not worth me trying to pick an instrument. But I really don't think that's true. I think some people, of course, do have natural talent depending on their parents or their upbringing or whatever. But I think really it just comes down to how much you practice, how much you spend time with your guitar. And that's the great thing, is that the more time you spend on it, you will get better. You'll definitely get better, and the better you get, the more fun that it is. So it really is just putting in those hours of practicing, and you will see the results, and it's a lot of fun. I know for me, it's a stress reliever to just sit down and practice my guitar. I love to practice when I'm watching the TV, sometimes watching football or something, and just practicing and just making sound with my fingers. It's just such a fun thing, and it really it's almost like meditation. You know, I can definitely attest to the fact that, you know, when you're sitting there practicing and locking in on this one activity, it's meditation. You know, it's not like you're sitting outside on a yoga mat with, you know, saying Om, but you're with your guitar, and it's time that, you know, it's well spent, and, you know, you will feel better from it. I can guarantee that. Whether you just play in your bedroom or you get to play with people, you know, another thing, boy, when you get to the point where you can actually play the guitar with somebody else, with another guitar player, or say with a bass player and a drummer or something, that's when it just explodes how much fun it is to get to share music with another person like that. So that's something I would strive to have people, you know, move towards. So I'm gonna play a song for you today. I'm an artist. I play with these big artists, but I have my own career too, and I'm a songwriter. And I think, you know, playing guitar, practicing your scales, practicing all your stuff, that can be very fun. Another part that can take it to another level for you is songwriting. If you can, you know, spend time writing songs and learning how to do that, it really is it's like a release. If you need to, you know, have like a little therapy session, you know, you can write it out. You can write what you're thinking, and put it into a song form, and it can really help. You know, even if nobody hears it except for you, it can really help. And, you know, sometimes you can write a song about your own experiences that other people enjoy, you know, and it inspires them, and that's a great feeling. That's a great feeling too. So I'm gonna play a Johnny Cash song for you today. This is a song called Big River. And since I am a guitar teacher for Guitar for Vets, I'm gonna give you a 1-minute guitar lesson on this song. So I hope you enjoy that. Big River, it's the key of E major, okay? And, you know, if you take the E major scale, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E, and give a chord to each one of those notes, what you end up getting is E major, F sharp minor, G sharp minor, A major, B major, C sharp minor, D sharp diminished, and then E major again. And all these popular songs, it's just a combination of those chords. And this one in particular, it's 1, 4, 5. So it's the first chord, the fourth chord, and the fifth chord. Now, what they do in blues a lot of times is they make all the chords 7th chords. So it's actually E7, A7, B7. And there are a couple other little tricks in there. One is it actually starts in E minor and switches to E major. So he's taking the chords from E minor, which is actually the key of G major. If you know the chords in G major, you also know the chords in E minor. And he's putting that in there. And then he's putting an F sharp dominant 7 chord, which actually takes you to the key of B for just a second, and then to B7. So anyways, these songs, they're not all that hard. It's just a matter of learning a basic amount of theory and then writing songs yourself. So anyways, here comes Big River from Johnny Cash. I taught the creeping willow how to cry, and I showed the clouds how to cover up a clear blue sky. And the tears I cried for that woman are gonna flood you, Big River, and I'm gonna sit right here until I die. Well, I met her accidentally in St. Paul, Minnesota, and it tore me up every time I heard that drawl, southern drawl. Then I heard my dream, went back downstream, converting in Davenport, and I followed you, Big River, when you called. she's been there, but she's gone, oh, she's gone. Well, I found a trail in Memphis, but she just walked up the bluff. She raised a few eyebrows and then she went down alone. Now won't you batter down by Baton Rouge, River Queen, roll it on. Take that woman on down to New Orleans, New Orleans. Go on, I've had enough. Dump my blues down in the Gulf. Well, she loves you, Big River, more than me. Now I taught the weeping willow how to cry, cry, cry. And I showed the clouds how to cover up a clear blue sky. And the tears I cried for that woman are gonna flood you, Big River. And I'm gonna sit right here until I die. Okay, a little Big River from Johnny Cash.
Awesome.
Okay, back to Paul.
Thanks, Ben. That is
You're
awesome.
welcome. You're welcome.
So, Ben, you know, we were talking before we started about songs that kind of elicit emotion, which is kind of what tonight is. We're kind of talking about how music affects you, and we mentioned songs that have a sad vibe to it, like the Johnny Cash song "The Hurt," or songs that have like a nostalgic feel, like "Landslide" by Fleetwood Mac, or anything reggae. Kind of, it's hard to be sad when you hear a reggae song.
Yeah.
So now we're going to ask Marilyn to talk a little bit about how music affects us. And I have to say, as I come over here to Maryland to pin her for everyone, I'm going to say, of all the drummers I know, I don't believe I know any that have a doctorate degree in clinical psychology. That's awesome.
Well, you know, it's amazing because I thought that was actually rare, but I have come across a lot of people who tell me that there's actually some groups of doctors that get together to jam. And
Because they know how
actually
good
have,
it is for them.
it really is. Yes, I have a colleague in California who is a bass player.
Good boy.
He's also a doctor, a psychologist, and so I guess it's not that hard. Once we figure out that music is so great for you, then it's really a no-brainer. That's what happened to me when Ben introduced me to the first musical instrument. I just felt the connections in my brain changing, and I told him, I said, oh my gosh, this has to be therapy. And then we started to look into it. So definitely I'm a believer of that. So but today I'm actually going to be talking to you and sharing a little bit of knowledge about how exactly is it that music affects us. And to start with, before I actually tell you about it, I want to share a video with you. I want to show you a video so that you can actually experience it to begin with. So let's all just experience for about a minute or so how music affects us.
What I want to do now is to show you the power of music, showing how music can change the way we view the world. What I'm showing you here is a picture in silence so that you can get a feel for this visual image. Just watch. Now, I'm going to ask these wonderful members of the Perth Symphony Orchestra to play a piece of music, see how you feel about it this time. Now, watch it again, but with this accompaniment.
So that really gives us just a little bit of a snippet of how music is so powerful to actually make the same event feel or seem different for you. And so there is no doubt at all that music has a tremendous effect on our whole being. And you don't really need to know all the research or all the science behind it to really believe it, because chances are, even before you watch that video, you already experienced it for yourself. If you've ever gone to a concert, like it was mentioned before, and you've actually experienced that joy of the music, especially when everybody else is in sync, feeling the same thing that you are feeling in that moment, it's a very powerful effect. If you've ever gone to the movies and you've actually been watching a scary movie and it just gets intensified, you get scared, more and more scared as the music changes, or the other way around, when you didn't want to cry at the movie theater, but you just could not hold the tears back because the music that went with the sad moment in the movie just really just made you start crying. And so music is just so powerful. Music just moves us. And so know that about that. And so the question then is, how does it do that? How exactly does music have that effect on us? And so if we had a little tiny camera that could follow a musical note from the time that it leaves the instrument to the time that it actually enters your body, then we would be able to see that it actually engages, that it actually engages all these different areas of the brain. Before, in the past, we used to think that music was associated with the right side of your brain and your logical side was the left side of your brain. But now, with all the technology that we have available, we actually know that all kinds of different areas of the brain get engaged when you listen to music or when you play a musical instrument. And so it all starts in the auditory cortex. We hear the sound, it enters your brain, and then it then also activates other areas in our brain. If you're actually watching a performance or you are reading music, then your visual cortex gets activated. There is your emotions that actually get involved as well. Your brain starts to think about, how does this make you feel? It activates the centers in the brain that have to do with memory. Your brain instantly starts to try to think, do I know this song? Do I recognize it? Is it familiar? Does it remind me of anything? Your motor cortex gets engaged. That's when we start moving along to the music, or tapping our feet, or clapping, or snapping our fingers, all that movement that's coming from your motor cortex. And so all the different areas get activated when you just listen to music. And it doesn't happen linearly. It doesn't go from A to B to C. It actually happens instantly. Then what happens when you actually play a musical instrument? And so we have studies that have found, now with all the MRIs and PET scans and even EEGs, we can see all the activity of music in the brain, and we can actually see that when you play a musical instrument, that activation in the brain is actually magnified times many times over. And so those specific parts of the brain that are associated with the instrument that you're playing, for example, in the case of the guitar, there's a lot of motor coordination. Those parts of the brain get strengthened. And they particularly have some studies on musicians that have found that there is a part of the brain right in the middle, in the center of the brain, that actually joins our two hemispheres. We have a left hemisphere and a right hemisphere. And this particular part of the brain, for musicians, when you play music, it gets strengthened. And what that does is that part of the brain actually controls how signals travel from one side to the other, how connected they are. And so they have found that for musicians, that part of the brain is especially stronger. And what that means is that you have a greater ability to process information because your two hemispheres are in connection, they are communicating better, you're a better problem solver for it. So if you want to have a healthy brain, listen to music. But if you want to have an even healthier brain, then play music yourself. Play a musical instrument.
Play down the boogie and play that funky music tonight.
We have the benefit of having live music here. Thank you, Ben. And so your brain actually operates on something that we called neurotransmitters or neurochemicals. And so everything that you do requires the firing of some of these neurons. So there is in your brain a total, what I like to call and use the analogy of a total super highway in your brain. This is a healthy brain where we have roads and bridges and pathways that are allowing for those neurochemicals and neurotransmitters to actually go from one place to another. So whether you are moving your hand or you're trying to find a word in your brain, those signals have to travel through those little pathways in order to find what they need or to execute the action that you want. And they travel very, very, very fast. And so when you hear a sound, immediately, even before you know what the sound is, your brain is already in tune with it. Your brain is already ready to release those biochemicals in your brain to know what to do with them. And so even before you know what the song is, if it's pleasant to you, if the sound that you start to hear is pleasant, then it's going to release specific chemicals that we have. And there are a number of chemicals that get released in the brain when you actually hear music. And these are just some of them. And so we have a lot of them, but the main one, the one that is actually known as a feel-good chemical, is dopamine. And dopamine, it's something that gets released when you have a pleasant sensation, and there are certain things that trigger that release for you to feel good. And so, for example, if you like sweets, or if you like French fries, any kind of fatty foods, any kind of sugary foods, they are excellent at releasing dopamine. And that's what then makes us feel so good when we eat those things. Something else that releases dopamine is sex. When you have sex, there's that flood of dopamine coming in to make you feel good. And the same thing happens with certain drugs. Recreational drugs that have that effect, they have that effect of causing this extreme euphoria. The reason for that is because it's an overflow of dopamine to the body. And guess what else releases dopamine? Music. Listening to music or playing a musical instrument actually releases dopamine and gives you the same kind of feeling and sensation that you get with all those other things. So probably that is where this thing about sex, drugs, and rock and roll comes from, right?
I wanna rock and roll all night and party every day.
So the next time that you want to reach out for a cookie and you know that you probably shouldn't because it's not good for your brain, pick up your guitar and play some tunes or play some music, and then that is going to definitely be an alternate way for you to release some dopamine and then feel like you don't need to do that anymore. And so dopamine is not the only neurotransmitter that gets released, not the only chemical that gets released in the body with music. Actually, there are quite a few other ones, and one of them is actually Of course, we said dopamine, and then serotonin is another important neurochemical for our body, and that is something that helps us to regulate our mood. So when you hear some soothing music, some meditative music, that has the effect of calming you down because it's actually releasing serotonin. And the same thing, if you hear some upbeat music that actually energizes you, there's some serotonin effects there. Oxytocin is something that actually gets released in the body when we have a sense of connectedness with others. That's why when you go to a concert, it's so much more enjoyable than if you just listen to music by yourself at home. And that is because that sensation of connectedness where everybody's experiencing the same thing at the same time releases that oxytocin. And same thing happens when you play with other people. The other thing that happens is that music actually also helps us to decrease some of the bad chemicals and the bad neurochemicals in the brain. And one of those is cortisol. Cortisol is a hormone that we actually release when we have too much stress. And music actually has been found to decrease the cortisol to actually reduce your stress. The other thing that music does is that actually can help to increase our antibodies in our body. So it actually helps us to fight diseases. And so definitely listening to music, outstanding for your health. Playing music, even better. Tons and tons of great effects that are physical, mental or cognitive or emotional, all around for our body. Music is just great. One of the things that we know specifically when it comes to the effects of music on the physiology of our body is that music can do amazing things. For example, it can actually lower your blood pressure. It can change your heart rate. So if you're feeling stressed or you're feeling anxious and you feel that your heart rate is just elevated, music actually activates a part of the brain in the back of your head, in your brainstem, that actually has to do with your heart rate. And that is why it actually can calm you down, because it's activating the very part that is actually accelerating in your body at that time. The other thing that music can do is actually have an effect on pain. So if anybody out there suffers from chronic pain, if you had a procedure or a surgery and now you're having pain, music actually can be very therapeutic in that way. They have a lot of studies showing that people who are going through pain and listen to music have lower pain than people who don't. Now, the way that it does it is that when you are feeling pain, the signal is going straight to your brain and is saying something is going on in this part of my body, and you're very focused on that specific area. And when you introduce a distraction, such as listening to music or playing music, then that signal that was once direct is actually now diffused to different parts of your brain and different parts of your body. And so in a way, you are tricking your brain into not having that direct connection, like a strong cord that is taking electricity current. Now it has been diffused to all these other little parts. And so that helps also when, if you're exercising. That's why they say it's good for you to exercise with music, because if you're exercising, you're starting to get tired and you hear another song, that helps your brain to get sort of like a boost to say, oh, okay, what else is going on here? And it just distracts you from feeling any kind of pain or any kind of fatigue. The other thing that music does is tremendous benefits for mental or cognitive functioning. If you want to focus better, if you want to memorize things better, then music is something that helps. And the way that it does it is that we really know that certain parts in your brain are specialized in certain things. So for example, language, speech, we know that the main center for it is on the left side of the brain. But because music activates a lot of other regions, if there's a blockage, when you can't think of a word, for example, but you use music, it's activating other areas of your brain that actually help to find some other pathways to go around it. And so there's a really good example with people that actually have had head injuries and now can't say particular words because that part of the brain was damaged. They see that music therapists can actually help them to sing the word, and it's such a miracle. They couldn't say the word when they were just talking, trying to speak it, but when they sing it, they can actually say the word. So it's just truly, truly amazing. So many positive effects for that. So much so that now we feel that music is really medicine.
Doctor, give me the news. I got a bad case of loving you.
Hopefully you were singing along. And so yes, it is true. Music is medicine. And one example of how music can be medicine is sleep. We have an epidemic of problems with sleeping. People that have insomnia or that wake up in the middle of the night and then they cannot get back to sleep. And so music is extremely good for that. And the reason for that is because our brain also runs on waves. And our brain waves actually have frequencies that are in hertz. And music also has frequencies that are in hertz. And so our brain is really wired to sync with whatever waves are going around. And I'll show you another little chart here of these waves and these waves. And so when we are awake and we are focused and we are working on something, when we are active, certain types of waves are activated. And then when we are getting a little tired or sleepy, those waves slow down in speed. And by the time that we get to actually be fully asleep, then we are at a different type of waves. We have all these different types of waves that function at a different speed. And so, for example, when I see EEGs, if someone is developing dementia, for example, those waves are going to be much slower than for someone who has a very active brain and that's not happening to them. And so for sleep, there is specific music that has been designed to help our brain change the speed of the waves so that when we go to sleep, we start at maybe 4 hertz, and then it just brings us down to 3 hertz to 2 hertz to the point that you didn't make it past the 3rd track before you were actually already sound asleep. I do this every night. I actually prescribe music to my patients. I say that what they have found in research is that the ideal amount of time listening to music for the health of actually growing new cells in your brain. Yes, you can grow new cells in your brain with music. Is actually 30 minutes a day. So 30 minutes a day of listening to music is going to actually have the effect of what we call neurogenesis, or growing new cells in your brain. And so playing a musical instrument is going to magnify that effect just incredibly. And so music help us at an emotional level, at a physical level, at a mental or cognitive level. Specifically with emotional level, Paul mentioned this a little while ago, but you can totally manipulate your mood with music. It can bring you up, it can bring you down, it can wake you up, it can put you to sleep. And so if you, in the morning, instead of watching the news first thing in the morning, you actually listen to music, that's actually going to help you wake up to the point that you're not going to need coffee. 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon come and you're starting to feel like you need to doze off, you need to have a little nap, turn some music on, sing, play your guitar, and you're going to feel this instant boost of actually being awake. So I actually want to encourage you to listen to music, to play your instrument, because we know that the benefits of playing a musical instrument, specifically, these are specific for the guitar, making music and making the guitar a part of your everyday life has tremendous benefits at all of those levels. It can make your cognitive abilities better. It can change the structure of your brain. It can help you to express your emotions. It can decrease your stress. It can improve your self-esteem. It can soothe your mood. And it can also improve your hand-eye coordination. So with all of those benefits, it's really a no-brainer that we all really have to make music a part of our life. So thank you for your attention to this today. Hopefully you got something out of it. Thank you very much to all the veterans out there for your service. I actually see quite a bit of patients from the Nellis Air Force Base here, and also a lot of retired military that come to retire in Vegas. So it is my joy to work with this community. And so now I'm going to send it back to Paul.
Marilyn, we did have a quick question from Michael. He wanted to know if you have an affiliation with the VA healthcare.
Not directly, in that I am not an employee there, but I am one of the only three. We don't have very many neuropsychologists in town, and I am one of the three that is actually contracted with the VA, and so I do get to see patients when they need someone to do anything to any neuropsychological services. They don't have one there, so in that way, yes. So I do work with the community there.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Strada. I think that was a really good connection for us with our first goal, which is having us have a better understanding of how music affects us. And you gave me an idea for a bumper sticker. I think I want to get a bumper sticker that says, "Release the dopamine, listen to the Beatles." I think that would be one that would sell. So I'm going to spotlight Tatiana, who's going to take this idea a little bit further and not just talk about how music affects us, but how we can tap into the healing power of music.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Marilyn. That was such an awesome presentation, and I'm really excited to share how we can use music in a way that will activate these specific chemicals and will support our brain health, like Marilyn just explained to us. So I'm going to hop into my presentation, where we're first going to talk about listening to music. And I'm so glad that Marilyn shared that there is a difference between just listening to music and playing music, which is what we will be exploring as well today. And I will be giving you some pointers and some different interventions on how to go about that once I figure out my tech issues as my eyes wander. Okay, here we go. Alrighty. So I'm gonna go ahead and start off with our first intervention. Can everyone see the screen all right?
Yep,
perfect.
Good.
All right, awesome. So our first intervention is just about actively listening to music. So again, like Marilyn stated, there's a lot of chemicals that are going to fire in our brain, neurochemicals, neurotransmitters that are going to fire in our brain whenever we actively listen to music. And what I have sharing on my screen is a step-by-step guide on utilizing a technique which is called the ISO principle. You'll see on the title, I have titled this Emotional Regulation Playlist, because that is what we're going to be doing with this playlist. The technique in music therapy, however, is called the ISO principle. And essentially what we're doing is we're using music to match us where we are and to guide us to a desired state. So, for example, if you look over to the little for example section, it says, I feel nervous and I want to feel calm. So typically, a lot of people might think, all right, I'm feeling really nervous. I'm going to put on the most relaxing music possible. And I'm definitely guilty of that, right? I don't want to feel nervous anymore, so I'm going to put on something that is the complete opposite. However, sometimes that might not be very helpful because that can kind of be like jumping into a cold pool, right? We're forcing ourselves to get to a place that we might not quite be in. So it's really important that we use music in a way where we match ourselves, whether it's emotionally or physiologically. And what I mean by that is taking notice of where your heart rate is or where your respiration rate is. Those are going to be faster and slower depending on your mood. And whenever we are feeling anxious or nervous, a lot of the time we have a higher heart rate and a higher respiration rate. So we want to be able to meet that and then gradually guide us to a different state. So what I want to do is just kind of speak through this guide. And if you would like this guide, let us know in the chat and I'd be more than happy to send this over to you so you can use this personally. So we're going to listen to a playlist that I have curated for this presentation, and we're going to talk through the different steps of the emotional regulation playlist. So the first step that I need to do is pick a word that describes how I feel right now. So I am choosing this example, which is a bit nervous. And then I need to decide, how do I want to feel? I don't necessarily want to be zonked out and go to sleep, but I definitely don't want to be as anxious or nervous as I was before. So I've decided I want to feel a little more calm. So what we're going to do is you're going to actively listen to find songs that match the feeling identified in step number 1. And then we'll gradually do that in identifying for your feeling in step number 2. So for me, when I'm feeling very anxious, and I don't know about you guys, but my heart rate is pounding. My heart is going super fast. I'm probably not able to catch my breath. And so I want to find a song that is going to match me in that state. And a lot of people might ask, why? I don't want to feel that way. And it's a great question. And really what we want to do is meet our body in that physiological state. And that might be at a higher state than what we want to be. So we need to meet our body in that physiological state with the music. And then that music and our body are going to entrain together, are going to start connecting, kind of like in a concert. When you're with other people and you notice that your body is moving to the music and everybody else is moving in the same way, we're all entraining to that music. So we want to do that with the first song that we select. So the first song that I have selected for this playlist is Barracuda by Heart. And I want you to think about, when I play this, why did I pick this? What is it about the music elements, the things that I'm hearing? Is it sad sounding? Is it angry sounding? Is it happy sounding? What are the things that you feel I was thinking about while selecting this song, Barracuda? Just think about why this song might match that nervousness. Can we hear that okay?
Yep.
All right, so I'm going to turn it down there, and I'm actually going to ask for some group participation. Let's see if some folks want to answer why they think I chose Barracuda as my first song for feeling nervous. What is it in the music that you think emulates that nervous feeling? And if not, I'll go ahead and answer on my end. But I kind of want to open up to the participants. If you want to unmute yourself, if that's okay, Paul. Why Barracuda? Why did I pick that?
It sounds kind of agitated.
Yes. What instrument sounded agitated?
I guess it was a guitar, wasn't it? I mean,
Correct. And then we hear some of that feedback, the wow, wow, wow. right? So there's some dissonance that's happening while also some consonance. So when I say consonance and dissonance, consonance in music is stuff that fits together, sounds good, feels good, sounds harmonic together. Dissonance is when we hear something that sounds a little off, kind of like that's exactly what that shark video was showing, consonance versus dissonance. There's that feeling that we get, there's tension, there's something there. And so I chose Barracuda because of exactly that. There is some sort of tension in the music, and that is what I feel physiologically, right? So thank you so much for answering that. Did anyone else have any other thoughts about that before I move on? All right, so I chose Barracuda because of exactly that reason. There is some dissonance. There's a higher tempo, right? We're going dun 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 dun. Wow, wow, wow. Sorry for my fake guitar noises, but just so you get a feel of it. So I have first identified my first song. So we're looking at step 4 here. I'm feeling so nervous. I'm feeling so anxious. And what we want to do is we want to validate that feeling, but we also want to gradually guide ourselves away from that feeling and manipulate, for lack of a better term, our moods to be in a place where we would like it to be. And we're also manipulating, for lack of a better term, our physiological state as well to calm down, to take deeper breaths. So my next song, I am still a little nervous, but not as much. And I need something that is going to be a little bit of a slower tempo because I need to get my heart rate down. So I chose Bad by Michael Jackson. So if you're noticing, my body is starting to move with this music. Your body might start moving with this music as well. There's still a bit of dissonance, right? The song's name is Bad. It's kind of this dubious kind of feeling that we have. So it is not necessarily like the most happy-go-lucky kind of song. However, we're starting to move our body. And what's going on when we're moving our body is we're starting to now entrain to the music. Our body is starting to connect to that rhythm. Now my heart rate is going to slow down. Although Bad is not necessarily the slowest, most relaxing song, it is a notch down in the intensity that we're feeling, if that makes sense. So then, if we're looking at step 4, that's what I'm going to call our pivot song, the calming down, number 3. The pivot song is really important. Because the pivot song is the song that says, okay, Tatiana, you are so nervous right now, but now it's time for us to move to that other state. Yes, we've acknowledged and we've felt that nervousness when we've come down a little bit. Now we're really moving to the music, and we're going to move on to our pivot song. If you notice, I'm choosing songs that I've grown up with or that are familiar to me or that I know. I'm not choosing songs that somebody else has recommended to me. I'm choosing songs that are important to me, that might bring up positive feelings, that might bring up positive memories, as well as giving me the opportunity to move through that energy that I'm feeling. So I chose I Want to Break Free by Queen. I'm starting to take deep breaths. Also, I just love Queen. This isn't sedative music. This isn't classical music. This is music that we love and enjoy every day. I want to break free. If you notice also, we've got some more major chords. We've got a more uplifting feeling in the pivot song. Maybe some more positive lyrics. God knows. Things that you can sing along to. I would probably play that the entire time if I could. Huge Queen fan. So Queen, I chose that as my pivot song because Queen brings me to a place where it reminds me of my childhood. It reminds me of positive memories. I love to sing along to Queen songs. Freddie Mercury is probably one of my favorite singers ever. And so you want to choose music that you personally align to. All right. So now we're getting to the wire where we have pivoted and we're going to start calming down. So I've chosen the song Just the Two of Us. And what I want the participants to notice is, what do you hear that's different in the amount of instruments? So we're talking about layers. We've had a lot of layers, a lot of different instruments. What's different about this song in comparison to the other songs that I've picked in regard to the amount of instruments that you're hearing? If you'll notice, the tempo is slower than the previous one.
I see the crystal raindrops fall, and the beauty of it all is when the sun comes shining through to make those rainbows in my mind. When I think of you sometime, and I want to spend some time with you, just the two of us.
All right. Also an oldie, but a really goodie. So I chose Just the Two of Us because now we have reduced the amount of layers in the music. Now the main kind of sounds that we're hearing are the voice, the bass guitar, and maybe some synthesizer or something going on there, right? So we have reduced the amount of layers in the music, which is also going to provide an opportunity for our body to calm down a bit. And then the last song that I selected was Moon Shadow, and this is my calm song. And I chose this song because it is acoustic. It is something that brings me good, positive feelings, and allows me to take a deeper breath than the songs that I played previously. So I will play Moon Shadow.
'Cause I'm being followed by a moon shadow, moon shadow, moon
Just
shadow.
voice and acoustic guitar.
Leaping
Maybe
and
a little
hopping
tambourine
on a
there.
moon shadow, moon shadow, moon shadow. And if I ever lose my hands, lose my plow, lose my land, oh, if I ever lose my hands, oh, I won't.
So, to give you an idea, this is about 20 minutes of music. You'll notice that this is 5 songs if we play it in its entirety. And what we're doing is we're finding music to match our physiological and emotional state, and then we're using music as the tool to guide us to a more calm and relaxed state. You can do this with as many songs or as little songs as you would like. However, I typically recommend with the folks and the veterans that I work with 5 songs. 5 songs is about 20 minutes or so, and that is an appropriate amount of time for self-regulation. This is a tool that you can use. You can throw on your headphones if you're in the car and you're having a stressful day. You can curate a playlist already made for yourself in that moment that you need it. You can put in your headphones and listen. If you are in a safe space where you feel open to it, sing along. That is going to enhance that experience, like Marilyn so eloquently explained to us. And it's also going to allow you to move through those feelings in a better way. It's going to enhance that opportunity for you. I like to kind of attribute it as, you know, those little throw fireworks that we give the kids because they can't play with anything different, right? So those little throw fireworks, they give us a little pop in it and it's exciting and then it's done, right? When we sing along, that is sort of like a Disney World fireworks show where that is prolonged, and that's going to allow us to experience that wholeheartedly versus just those little moments if we're not singing along. Alrighty. So that was the first intervention that I typically use in music therapy. This is typically the first intervention that I utilize because we're not so much talking about playing instruments yet. Maybe my client has not played an instrument ever, but we definitely need some sort of technique to use music in a way that feels familiar, feels resourceful, and feels like you can do it on your own. So then we move on to some different ways that we can play some music. So I'm going to invite those who are on the call to pick up their guitars. This is the moment where we're going to practice a little bit of improvisation and relaxation. So I'm going to go through the instructions really quickly. If there are any questions, please ask them. I don't mind if you interrupt me. So what we're doing is we are utilizing the guitar in a really easy way. So this can be simple for anybody that doesn't know how to play a chord, has just gotten a guitar out of the box and they're not sure, and then maybe they've just learned how to tune it, right? So this is a great way to practice some relaxation, some mindfulness, to bring our respiration down, our heart rate down if we need it for relaxation. And then this is also a great way to explore improvisation, which is making things up as you go, which can really highlight our self-expression, our confidence, can make us feel more engaged in the music, kind of in that flow lock-in space that Ben was talking about earlier, especially when you're making music with other people. You have this feeling of a flow. You're locked into the music. And improvisation can facilitate that for us as well if we don't have other people to play with. So I'm going to invite you to look at your lowest string, your E string. All right. So on that E string, we've got some frets, and we're going to look at the 3rd fret. If you have dots on your guitar, that's usually going along with the dots. So the 3rd fret might have a dot. The 5th fret, mine has a dot. The 7th, that also has a dot for me. I don't know about you. And then the 8th, that one doesn't. So we're going to use the 3rd fret, the 5th fret, the 7th fret, and the 8th fret. And this is going to be in G major, if that's helpful for you. Now, we're also going to be finger picking some open strings. So I'm going to play you what this sounds like on step 1, all right? If you play it in the order that I have it written out. So this is step 1. So, sounds simple enough, but I know that finger picking can be a whole other world for some people. So, if you don't feel comfortable with finger picking these random strings, what I suggest is that you avoid the 5th string and you avoid the 1st string while you are finger picking. So, mainly on strings 2, 3, 4, and 6, you're going to be playing. You can just play the same 2 if you wanted. So, you can explore with finger picking. There might be some sounds that don't sound good if you, like I did, I hit the 6th string by accident, right? That's okay. It's just all a part of improvisation, and what we're doing is we're making up music on the spot. There's no right or wrong. So, whenever we are playing this first section, if you are following along with me, I'm going to play it again, and I'm going to invite you to take some deep breaths. I want you to, at first, take a little body scan and notice where you are right now. Where is your breath right now? We're going to match that like we did in the music listening exercise and the playlist exercise, and then we're going to gradually slow it down. So I will model that and you can follow along with me. We are going to play again the 3rd, 5th, 7th, and 8th fret and then back down on the E string. All right, so whether you have your guitar and you want to play along with me, or if you just want to receive it, I'm going to invite you to take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Deep breath in again and out. I'll let you kind of follow along on your own with your breath and notice your body. But taking those nice deep breaths in, hold, and out. And then I start kind of slowing my playing down a bit. My breath with that. Deep breath in, hold, and out. You can think of what you're grateful for while you play this. You can just enjoy what you're playing. You can take those deep breaths that are so important for our regulation. And you can get really lost in that for a while. So now what we're going to do is we're going to kind of activate ourselves again. So we have gotten that relaxation that we need for the amount of time that we need. If you need to play that for 5 minutes or 15 minutes, it doesn't matter. Whatever you need to regulate and to bring your body to a more secure place. Now what you're gonna do, we're gonna try different rhythms. You can try a different variation with your bass line. So I'm just improvising. I'm really playing whatever. It's not necessarily the most incredibly musical thing. However, this is a technique that you can utilize to expand your playing, to bring a sense of relaxation, to have a moment of mindfulness, and also to practice improvisation in a way that isn't super scary. I remember my music teachers would ask me to improvise in front of a class, and that was the most terrifying thing someone could ask me to do. So this is a way that you can practice improvisation, practice your own kind of melody that you'd like with that intervention. All right. So a couple other interventions that I won't go as deep into, but songwriting was also mentioned. Songwriting is an incredible way to express yourself and also to use music and expand the way that you use music as a therapeutic tool. So this example that I have is an example of using fill-in-the-blank songwriting. I don't know if this shows my age. It probably does, but I remember growing up at a bookstore, they had these things called Mad Libs. I don't know if anyone remembers Mad Libs, but Mad Libs were a book where it looked exactly like this. You had some blanks and you were given prompts to fill in and to create your own story. So that's essentially what we're doing with fill in the blank songwriting. We're taking a song that we enjoy or that is meaningful to us, and we are flipping it around and rewriting it in a way to find some therapeutic benefit from it. So with My Girl, what I'm doing is I'm taking that original song and I'm taking out specific parts of those lyrics. So I'm going to ask for some more participation here. So what I'm going to ask is an audience member, if you can tell me what is something that you like to do on a lazy day. It can be anything. What's something that you like to do on a lazy day?
I like to take a nap on a lazy
Perfect.
day.
Perfect. I love it. All right. So we would put in that blank, I've got to take a nap, right? Something you like to do on a lazy day. I've got to take a nap. On a what's your favorite weather? I'm going to say, hold on, sorry. Difficult to speak when other people are speaking. Thank you. So, on my favorite weather, I'm going to put on a cloudy day. I really enjoy cloudy days, right? So, it can be the same as the lyrics, but we also want to find something that's going to match what we personally identify with or that we personally benefit from. So, if we were to take the lyrics of My Girl, right? Which is usually I've got sunshine on a cloudy day. We're gonna say, I've gotta take a nap on a, I'll say sunny day. When it's the opposite, right? So you get the point. What we're doing is we're taking different elements that are important to us, right? We're not just willy-nilly saying, oh, I like when it's raining, when we don't like when it's raining. We're going to select things that we personally identify with. And what we're doing with this intervention is we eventually are identifying things that are positive in our lives, that bring us joy, things that we have gratitude for, things that are going to remind us of those positive things that we have when we are not feeling so positive. So that's the point of some of these fill in the blank songwriting exercises is we take a song that is familiar to us and we rewrite it in a way that's going to give us a sense of uplift, a sense of hope, with those personal inclusions like I got, right? So it might sound silly, I've got to take a nap, but once you get through the intervention, it is definitely a great way to use humor as a coping skill, and it's also a great way to personally express yourself. Last but not least, again, we won't go into this one. However, lyric analysis is another intervention that a lot of music therapists use. And lyric analysis is really self-explanatory. We're utilizing music and the lyrics as a way to find any insight, as a way to uplift our mood, as a way to relax us, as a way to find validation, etc. So lyric analysis can be a really powerful tool that you can use on your own as well. And what that can do is give you, again, a sense of validation, or to give you a space for you to really feel your emotions within the safety of music. It also can allow you to, again, move through those feelings as we are producing those neurotransmitters to make our bodies and our minds feeling a little better. I wanted to go back to, I see some scribbles, I don't know how to take that off, but I wanted to go back over to the fill in the blank songwriting. If you don't know how to play the song on the guitar, that's okay. You can find a backing track on YouTube, and then you can go along with that backing track and fill in the blank that way. If you don't feel comfortable singing, you can sing, or you can just sing it in your head. Any way that you feel comfortable, and to utilize music in this way that is intentionally going to bring us away from maybe those negative feelings, or to bring us to a more positive or alert state, however you are utilizing music. So that's what I've got for us today. Again, I am more than happy to share any of these interventions for you. And I really appreciate the attention. If there's any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them at the end. Thank you.
Tatiana, that was awesome. That first slide you had that started it all, where we pick kind of an emotion and we kind of think about the songs we consume. I mean, we all love music, so we all consume music. I think what you've helped us do is think a little bit more strategically about a feeling we might want to create. There was some comments in the chat about like, what if my goal was to find music to sleep by? There was another chat where gentleman was talking about having a friend that was addicted who's now in recovery, but he understood that music was a part of why he drank. And, I mean, we're just over and over again talking about how music affects us. And we talked about maybe in the future doing a future Guitars for Growth that was much more focused on what Tatiana was doing, where we kind of look at that first slide, and if we were to pick a different outcome that we wanted, relaxation, sleep, or something like that, how we could think strategically about how we consume music to get that end. So that's perfect.
Absolutely. May I just comment really quickly?
Please.
I saw the response and I saw that in the chat, and I also really have to acknowledge that music can be helpful for us, but can also be limiting for us. Music can be triggering for us, and it's really important that we recognize that there are positives and negatives sometimes with music, and it is not an isolated experience that music is so associated with alcohol consumption. And I love Marilyn's response. It's really helpful to find ways to reassociate that music, how we can reframe how that music is perceived with baby new actions while we're utilizing that music, being in a new environment, etc. It is absolutely possible to reframe how that music impacts us, but it's also really helpful to work with a professional like a psychotherapist or like a music therapist to help guide you in the strategies of reframing that. So I wanted to just recognize that, yes, there are absolutely positives and we can talk about them all day. And I also think it's important to say that there can be negatives as well.
I wanted to add, if I can, just to on that is that music creates an association, and so we really are what we consistently do. So we're not necessarily what we do, but we are what we consistently do. And so if you want to create a positive connection with music, then we want to associate it with those positive experiences. So that's why, I said, okay, so for example, for myself, when I work out, I listen to the same exact songs, and I'm reading a book by Sanjay Gupta now, the Surgeon General, and he also recommends you create this playlist for that activity that you want, and every time you do that activity, you listen to the same exact playlist so that those neurons that are firing are the same ones that are connecting. So you create a very, very strong association with the new positive experience that you want to create.
Great, thank you. So far we've had Dr. Strada talk to us about how music affects us. We've had Tatiana kind of show us how we can tap into the healing power of music. And we're going to end with kind of a personal testimony that Ben has prepared for us about how music and the guitar has impacted his life.
Thank you, Paul. The question that Paul asked me for this segment is, how can playing the guitar change your life? I mean, I know for me, it's changed my life. It's given me this thing that I love to do and I'm passionate about, and just brings joy to myself and a lot of other people. But I think for the people listening out there, anyone can play guitar. Anyone can play guitar. You don't have to be an athlete. You don't have to have had a college education to play guitar. Anyone can do it. So I just implore everyone to pick up an instrument. It will make you feel better. It gives you something fun to do, something you can have some confidence in, because you will get better at it eventually. It does take a while. And what everybody's been talking about here in this whole presentation is part of it's been songwriting. And I really feel that songwriting can really help you, even if you're not trying to write a song that's going to be released by Warner Brothers Records. Just for yourself, if you have, something's bothering you, or you're thinking too much about something, sometimes if you write about it, it can help to get it out. And I know just from my personal experience that sometimes writing about something, it just helps me. It feels like a session with a therapist almost. And I think you should have sessions with therapists also, but this is your own way that you can do it. And by getting it out in the world, and again, a lot of times you don't even have to share it with anybody, but it's just good for yourself to get it out. And I think sometimes it's hard to say, well, how do you do that? I've heard people say, well, I can't be a songwriter. I'm not a songwriter. Anyone can be a songwriter also. Okay, we all have things we think about, and if you try to get those down on paper, you can find that, you know, it can really help you, and maybe you'll even inspire other people with what you wrote. So I'm going to debut an original song that I wrote in a couple minutes here. And I'm just going to give you a little insight into how I wrote it, because I think, to me, when I was growing up, it was trying to write a song like Bruce Springsteen or somebody. I mean, it's just like, wow, I could never do that. And I'm not saying I could as good as Bruce Springsteen, but I write songs. I have my own songs that I've written, and it, you know, it just kind of takes time sitting down. Even Bruce Springsteen said he sits down for 8 hours a day and writes in his notebook. And if he can get one line out of that whole time that he really likes, it was a successful day of songwriting. So it just kind of takes time, and that therapeutic thing of writing it out does help. And one thing I'll let you know, there's a thing called free writing, which if you just sit down and start writing, after about 10 minutes, you'll find ideas start coming out. We all can tap into this creative energy of the universe. It's there for all of us. It might not come right out right away. You may have to sit there and try to do it for 2 hours, or maybe 20 minutes, but ideas will come out. So one of the things that I get to do in Las Vegas now, my wife and I, the beautiful, talented, brilliant Marilyn Strata, who you just met, we have a band and we play some corporate shows. And one of the things one of the clients asked one time was, can you write a original song for our clients that are coming to town? And I was like, okay, sure. This is another good exercise if you have a deadline of writing a song, like, okay, we're, you know, me and Jimmy are gonna play at the open mic on Monday night. We're gonna try to debut this new song. Boom, you have to finish it by Monday night. So it makes you finish it. So this one, it was for a very rich European company, and we asked like some things. Okay, what about, you know, give me some details about the company, the people that work for the company who are coming to the show, whatever. And the owner of the company, his favorite line that he said every day was, "All you need is cash." And when I first heard it, I mean, it actually kind of made me mad, to tell you the truth, when I first heard it, because, I mean, as a musician, I haven't lived my life trying to make as much money as possible. You know, I've lived my life playing an instrument and experiencing the joy of that. So it kind of made me mad at first, and I was like, you know, I can't write a song called "All You Need Is Cash." I mean, that's just against all my principles. So I ended up kind of writing something different for them, but I kept thinking about it. I was like, well, it's kind of a cool, something about that. It had a reaction in me, those words, and I've never heard those words put together like that before. When I worked for John Fogerty, I found out that what he does to write songs is when he hears a phrase of words he's never heard before, or something someone says, or something he thinks about, he writes it down on a piece of paper, just like a title, like a song title, puts it in like an empty fishbowl, and then whenever he was bored, he would grab one out of the fishbowl and he would stare at like a blank white wall for hours and try to come up with something. So I was trying to come up with this "all you need is cash" thing for, I mean, months. Like, I couldn't figure it out. And then one day I just, you know, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, I was kind of feeling a little bit down, and, you know, it's like sometimes I know that when I play guitar, I feel better. And if I can kind of write a song, I feel even better. So I had this inspiration on how to take that phrase and kind of turn it around, and kind of show you that, and show myself that if I am feeling down, sometimes music can really help. So I'm going to debut this original song, "All You Need Is Cash." I thought this would be the perfect place to debut it. Again, I'm going to give you the quick theory about it, since I am a guitar teacher for Guitar for Vets. This song, it's 1-4-5 in the key of G. That's G major, C major, D major. And again, many great songs are only 3 chords, or maybe 4 chords. Now this one, I'm using an F chord, which is actually not in the key of G major, but it's in the key of G minor, which is B flat major. So I'm borrowing a chord from G minor and putting it in a song with G, in a G major song. So for when I'm playing that chord, I'm actually in G minor, and then I'm jumping back to G major. So it's only 4 chords. Anyone could write a song like this. And that little technique of using you know, it's called a flat 7, major chord built on the flat 7. You got G major, and then G minor, 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7, 1. And there's chords that get built on each one of those notes. So anyways, so here we go. Here's a song I wrote called All You Need Is Cash, and I'm proud to debut it for the Cav Arts and Guitar for Vets community. Okay, here we go. Sometimes I get to feeling down. You know, let me start that again. I'm so sorry. A little nervous. I'm going to do it again. It's the first time. Sometimes I get to feeling down, like I ain't got much life left in the tank. Feels like everything's all crashing down. Trying to steer, but my boat's already sank. But then I put my records on and I play my favorite songs, and I'm lifted up and carried away. Start to cry looking at this highway, and I think to myself, what would Willie say? He'd say, son, all you need is cash, Johnny Cash. All you need is Willie, all you need is Hank. All you need is the light that comes shining from up on high, to know everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright. Watch the hummingbird fly, feel the rains come down, find the little miracles in my life, feel the love that's all around. Then I put my records on and I play my favorite songs, and I'm lifted up and carried away. Start to cry looking at this highway, and I stop and think to myself, what would Willie say? He'd say, son, all you need is cash, Johnny Cash. All you need is Willie, all you need is Hank. All you need is the light that comes shining from up on high, to know everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright. Break down crying and I need some relief. Then I hear my hero start singing to me. Son, all you need is cash, Johnny Cash. All you need is Willie, all you need is Hank. All you need is the light that comes shining from up on high, to know everything's gonna be alright. Yeah, everything's gonna be alright. Everything is gonna be alright. Thank you, thank you. I also got to take a second to mention collaborate when you write songs. This song was written with the help from my beautiful wife, Marilyn Strada. I needed the second verse. I told her, and she came up with all these great ideas. So sometimes collaborating with someone, it can really bring out the best of the situation too. But thank you everybody for listening to my original song, and I implore you to write your own songs to help yourself and help us on the whole planet. So thank you very much.
Benjamin, that was great.
Thank you.
I think the last song of yours, original, that we used was one of your first ones. It was a two-chord song.
Yes, This Crazy Love. Yes, that's a two-chord song, right. So you can do a lot with just 2 to 4 chords.
So listen, thank you. We tried to kind of explore this whole idea of the healing power of music from a couple different aspects, but I wanted to bring the panel up to see if there's any other questions, thoughts in the chat, or you could unmute yourselves. And at this point, I'd also ask if Nigel or Hannah have anything they want to give for the good of the cause.
I just want to say thank you to everyone who presented today, everyone who attended today. I think if more folks took a moment to just be mindful and think about something as accessible as music that can help brighten our day, we would be living in a much better world. And I'm very grateful for all of you seeing that and spreading that message, because I think that we all need that right now. And yeah, we all just need some cash. I love it. I love it, man. We all just need some cash. Thank you.
Thank you.
So this was our second in the series. So you CAVART members, let us know in the community. I mean, we're kind of wanting to continue the idea of exploring this whole healing power of music, and there's a couple different ways we could go. But if you have any ideas in the chat, let us know, because I kind of feel there's just enough material here to keep exploring this from a couple different avenues. Dr. Strada, Ben, Tatiana, thank you so much. Really appreciate working with you to bring this off, and can't thank you enough.
You.
And we will see you around, I hope.
Yes, definitely.
Thanks so much.